Yeah, so I'll give you the version that's out of here first, and rather than just the historical facts. But so I grew up in near Dobroyd Head, and I used to walk through the bush, and it always puzzled me because we saw down the road at the end of the street there was Aboriginal carvings, and but no Aboriginals, you know. And as a kid growing up, it's just white people. And then I just loved the bush somehow. Some reason I loved the bush, and something happened at that stage in my life. And I remember being very keen when my primary school class we were on excursion, and the teacher, I think it was in 6th grade, the teacher took us all down to Dobroyd, and I said I knew where the carvings were, and so I felt very proud, you know, that I knew where the carvings were. And the whole class sort of followed me down and we showed them the carvings. The beautiful spot looks out over the South Head and North Head, and right out to sea. And recently I've had vision, in Alan Skinner's words, of a man and his son standing, looking out to sea and looking at the tall boats coming in, and just knowing what it feels like to be a dad now with a son of a similar age, 13, and just what would have been going through their minds when the boats were coming in, you know, and whether they thought there was something fantastic, or whether there was a feeling of dread. We've got no way of telling, you know. But we do know that they had a dream, because every person's got a dream in the heart, you know, and it would have sent their imagination flying. But history says that within probably a few short 2-3 years, that population in the Manly area, Northern Beaches area, right through even Sydney, it was just decimated totally, you know, smallpox. We're not sure how many massacres happened. You know, I was telling Bella before that we've got a book at church with that's volume 1, and there's like thousands of massacres all over Australia, but there's not too many evidence for massacres in Sydney. I think basically because it happened so early, you know, there was nothing written down. But we do know that so many people died of smallpox. Actually, our church, which is on Fisher Road was a path that led from Manly to the rest of the Northern Beaches, way before it was a road. And it was just a bit high above, there was marshes coming up, and then it was a path leading behind the marshes. And apparently all along Fisher Road, all the way up, Northern Beaches were dying and dead Aboriginal people from smallpox. And now that doesn't sound like a great theme for a song, and the song's not about that. It's about dream, it's about dreaming, it's about restoring the dream. One day, probably 17 years ago, I wrote a song, and it was about God, it was about the church, it was about unifying, it was about God's Spirit being in us and giving us power to live, you know. And I was singing away, and suddenly I started singing "We're a land of dreams, we're a place of hope," and God took me into a song, another song of the same tune, and it sounded very Aboriginal. And at that point in time, as I said, I grew up just Caucasian Australians, you know, not First Nation peoples. But within a few short weeks, I found myself in Parliament House at a thing called the Praise Corroboree, singing the song. I don't know how that happened. Someone asked me how that happened the other day, and to tell you the truth, I could make up something, but my memory's not that good. It just happened, basically. Someone rang up, and there I was. And then I met some amazing people. One of them was Pastor Peter Walker. I was talking about him the other night, but he's the sort of guy, suit, tie, the whole works, businessman, politician. And these Wylanders start playing a song and start clapping the clapsticks, and then the next moment he's up singing, you know, and dancing and pretending to be a bird and doing a song in his language, you know. And, so they're the type of people I met. I met some guys called the Slocky Brothers. They were awesome dudes down south. These young guys, their father and their grandfathers were stopped and prevented from speaking language, and also playing didgeridoo, and the whole bit about their culture was cut off. These young guys became Christians at some point and started dreaming, and in their dreams the dances and the songs from the past came back, and now they perform these songs and perform these dances in schools and all over Australia. Amazing. Another group of guys were up north in Fingal Beach, I think, and I think they're the Slab Brothers, and again they're performing all over Australia, dancing, singing, restoring the dream in young people, Aboriginal, Caucasian, Australians, you name it. And so this song called Nangamai is all about dreaming. Nangamai is actually a word which means dream in the Sydney language, the Darung Eora language of Sydney, and I believe, if nothing else, it'd be very cool for the whole of Australia to know the word for dream in the extinct Sydney language, and that's Nangamai. A few other words is Burawa, which means long, and Barawul, which means far. And so Nangamai Barawul, Nangamai Barawa means dream long, dream far, dream long, dream far. Another couple of words in the song would be Mari, Burawang Inyun, and that means big land under. So our great southern land. So what I've tried to do in the song is speak a phrase, and then the last word of the phrase is a Sydney language, first language word for that word. So we're a place of hope, or then I've got the hope, that word dream or hope in the language. Does that sort of get across, feelings? What I want to do is give young people hope, particularly the ones that are out in the desert areas, out on the fringes, and that could be the fringes of a town, but it could also be the centre of a town like Redfern, where the culture and the heritage have been stripped off. But if nothing else, restoring a few words that are extinct, it's almost uncovering what's there, To me, I was thinking about the other day, and it affected me emotionally when I went back to the spot where I grew up at Dobroyd, and went back with my son, and it's like the Aboriginal carvings themselves are crying out for their voice to be heard. And the tragic thing is, I'm 40 years of age. That's not very tragic, okay? But the tragic thing is that from the time I was, say, 11, to when I remember the Aboriginal carvings, to now, the Aboriginal carvings in that place are almost completely weathered, from the rain, the wind, but mostly people, traffic, tourists, whatnot, walking over it. So in that 30 years, these carvings are almost gone, and they're trying to protect it with sandstone around it, but it actually makes the rock look horrible, it's like the actual ground itself is crying out to be heard. The Aboriginal people have got an affinity with the land. How it relates to the Bible would be that we're dust, and God put breath into the dust and raised us up from the earth.